for every industry concerning AI. But I think specifically with tech, with construction and tech, what I've seen lately is there's been a lot of builders, contractors, GC architects who are starting to understand, if we're not utilizing this, then we will fall behind. And I think there's a lot of shift from the generation that's starting to retire. They're starting to wean out, and the new generation's coming through where we can realize if we utilize something and it makes something faster and we save money, we're going to use it every time.
Yeah, great point.
So I would like to say that there's a big acceptance into the way that it's going. As for the state of the industry, I mean, I live in Australia from Sydney. Look, we hear things all the time behind the scenes that things aren't going too great. It's a bit of a monopoly, so to be able to provide some relief and to be able to provide something that can help make these AEC professionals' lives a bit easier makes me pretty stoked to be a part of.
That's a great point. I just to kind of maybe build off of that, I'm curious what kind of conversations you hear about, hey, this is too expensive. This is going to take too long. We need a proposal back tomorrow. How fast can we get this stuff back? I just curious from your perspective, how much you're hearing those kind of conversations. Absolutely.
Well, when I was working for the tier 1 builder in Sydney, we were doing a school project for the council. And I don't know if, guys work with government jobs and council jobs, but it needs to happen fast. And when they click their fingers, you need to get your ass into gear, or, there's big problems. So there is especially in the tier 1 space, I can't speak for residential, but at the top here, everything happens very, very fast paced. And if you don't keep up, people, there's a lot of money on the line for this is a business at the end of the day, these big buildings, and, people want imminent results, and they don't want to be messing around with things that are incorrect. It just wastes everyone's time.
Yeah, there's only a program out there that could check drawings real fast, right?
Yeah. Only, yeah.
Good lead in.
Someone needs to develop that.
Somebody should do that. It's a great idea. So I guess, again, kind of from your perspective, why the move away from a more traditional path like what BK and I started out on into construction tech?
Of course. Well, actually, my love for construction tech came, I'm going to give you a bit of a backstory. I'm from New Zealand. I grew up in Christchurch, and I got to witness the 2011 Christchurch earthquakes when the city pretty much came down to rubble. And what was interesting growing up in the time after that was seeing all of these professionals as such a young person utilizing new tech to try to help rebuild Christchurch. I'd sit there and I'd see as a young person, the surveyors with their tech out, or they're flying drones up, taking photos. And I always thought, like that for me has been incredible, because I've seen from a young age that never going to go back in time. We're never going to go back to using pen and paper to start measuring or drawing things. And it's just such a fast-paced world. And, seeing that new tech come in, and then, fast forward, I'm in construction management and we're using crazy tech every day. It makes me very excited that, to be able to build something that's helpful for the AEC industry is a big dream of mine, because I've seen tech be so helpful for other projects like the rebuild of Christchurch.
Well, let me give you a little perspective, Harry. When Chris and I work on the same job together, the coolest thing was to bring an iPad out to site just to look at drawings. That was it. That was our technology.
Yeah, it's incredible how fast times have moved.
Yeah,
the iPhone wasn't out before I was born, which is crazy. So
it's hard to believe, actually.
Yeah, it is. So, but no, to come back to that, look, tech's coming and it's here to stay, and who builds the best will be the best, and that's kind of how this goes.
Well, that's a really interesting perspective. I think how much tech has influenced. I'm kind of curious, and we can kind of wrap up with a few more questions here. How practical is your degree or your bachelor's at UNSW?
Practical as in when I get to site, I know what I'm doing?
Yeah, or like Yeah, how useful are the courses that you're doing in terms of, yeah, these are directly applicable to a day in the life?
Definitely. I think that anyone who's in my position and going into a cadetship knows that uni doesn't really step you up for what the role's going to be like. But I would say that's quite similar to most degrees, like learning theory and putting that into practice, totally different environments. But what I do find interesting about uni is it kind of can push you into these career paths. And, you know, if I'd never done the BIM course, the 3D modeling, I would never really thought about, you know, this whole marked up program. So there's a lot to say. There's a lot for who I've met, people who have introduced me to other things as well. I don't particularly think the course directly correlates to practical theory, but, you know, there's definitely their advantages of being in the network.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. Definitely agree. I think we're probably all fortunate that we had our opportunity to go get some higher education,
Absolutely.
expand the way we think, but also recognize the theories versus the practical are a little bit different.
Absolutely.
BK, any last questions for Harry?
Yeah, I guess the you know, the industry changes, it kind of flows. Are you seeing any, I don't know, any particular opportunities as far as where construction's going? Meaning, you know, where do you see more focus on your side? Is it the residential, the commercial side? You know, I'm honestly, I just don't know, just because, you know, I might be twice your age, but what kind of trends do you see happening right now?
Well, to be honest, being in Australia here, we have the Brisbane Olympics coming up in 2032. So there's been a huge influx of government spending on infrastructure projects, which I've found really interesting, especially like the metro tunneling, Cross River Rail in Brisbane as well is quite interesting. Coming back to Sydney here as well, there just seems to be, with such an increase in population, the facilities and the highways and the infrastructure needs to expand, the schools. So there's nothing slowing down here.
Right.
Construction's still at an all-time high, and I think with population increases, it will never change.
Right on.
That's what I'm seeing. It's full steam ahead for the construction industry.
Yeah, I think it always will be. So that's good.
Always.
That's great.
Yeah.
This is definitely global recession-proof business.
Mm-hmm.
When our beautiful governments print the money, they typically spend it on infrastructure and construction first. And when stuff is booming, we're just building more commercial high-rise. So I love it.
That's right.
All right, lads. Another great episode. Harry, super thankful for you answering and getting to know you a bit better. BK, we'll catch you guys next week on another edition of Blueprint Academy. Thank you so much, gents.
Thank you.